Welcome to Grow with the Flow. This is your space for open, honest, and real conversations about life. We dive into personal growth, meaningful connections, and embracing your truth. So, if you're looking for inspiration, a fresh perspective, or just a space to connect, you're in the right place. Let's grow with the flow. Hello, and welcome back to Grow with the Flow. Today in a somewhat different setting. The beginning of this year has been rather difficult for me. Quitting my job and starting to look into ways how I can fulfill my purpose and find my purpose has brought me to a lot of different challenges. It started with anxiety of abundance and finding a financial stability. I was looking into any job opportunity and hacks and online shops and anything you can imagine that would possibly generate money because I was worried how I would be able to sustain myself. I knew that my savings would only last me so long, so I started looking into this quite heavily. So much so that during travels to Albania, I wasn't able to enjoy the city a lot. I was stuck in the hotel and I was reading, I was researching, I was learning. And I realized shortly after that that's not the right approach, especially if you're in moments like on travels, you want to be more present and probably invite more presence in general to the things that you do and don't be too worried about the future. And it's been going on for like 2 months of different challenges. Eventually I realized I need to just be and listen more to my body. After Albania, I traveled to Budapest and I was able to completely focus on myself. And it was beautiful. I enjoyed the city that I visited for the first time and it was stunning. Not only because of the city, but also because I felt like I was really present. I was really in a moment and it was very special. It also allowed me to handle my anxiety much better. Going to a city has always been quite challenging to me. In nature, like here, I feel very centered. In big cities, it's quite the opposite. You might remember my panic attack in New York. That has probably contributed to that. So being able to navigate through Budapest without really experiencing major anxiety issues has been very special. And also, I think, uh, is a nudge towards the ability to be present. And then similarly, during the next couple of weeks, I tried to listen more to my body and what feels right. Moments when I wanted to work on the next edition of the Mediterranean Acro Convention or organizing a different retreat or whatever it was, starting a new project. I always wanted to make sure that I kind of listen more to how I feel and put that energy more mindfully towards something. I suppose it's shifting to a mindset of quality over quantity. Instead of investing 12 hours into something just to kind of feel like you're getting the reps in and you feel like, oh, I've been doing something, I much rather now spend 3 hours actively focused on something. Because ironically, if it's something that you really feel like, you might end up doing 12 hours anyway, but those 12 hours will give you an amount of productivity that is incomparable to doing something for 12 hours just because it needs to be done. And at some point, when I ask myself, what is it that I want to do? After seeing so many of my friends traveling to Bali to join the Acro Spirit Festival and just to enjoy the beauty of Bali, I decided that that's what I wanted to do. I had a phone call with a good friend of mine, and it only took a very short sentence and a very brief recommendation that said, oh, you could just join me in Bali. And I thought, you know what? I could just join you in Bali. And I booked the ticket 2 hours later, and I was in the plane 4 days later. And I've been here for 10 days now, and those 10 days have been incredible. Seeing so many friends and exploring the place where I've been to 2 years ago when I first decided to face my anxiety and first set path on a journey that would forever change my life. It was incredible coming back to those moments, coming back to the same places, the same cafes, but realizing how, even though everything is the same around me, I'm certainly not. And I have changed for the better, and I have grown. And when I previously mentioned the paradox of growth, where we sometimes are so focused on the future and how we sometimes need to see where we came from, this was exactly that kind of exercise for me, and the ability to look into those moments and see where I've come from. A good friend of mine asked me yesterday, on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is no anxiety at all, and 10 is pretty much the peak anxiety moments that I had in New York, where do I see myself now? And I felt like I'm at a 3, probably, which to me was um, quite amazing to realize. And there's still moments today, actually, where we're continue traveling. We're on our way to Vietnam, and I cannot wait to explore a new country, to explore a new culture. But I'm also anxious. I'm anxious for the travel. Whenever traveling is coming up, my nervous system gets slightly heightened. Now it's, 7 in the morning. We have the idea of doing breakfast, and then there is a 1.5 hour taxi ride to the airport. And my mind is already thinking, should I have breakfast? Because I think maybe if I avoid eating something that might not trigger any digestion or bowel movements, and I'm already worried about it, which is something that then kind of carries over to the whole travel to Vietnam. And I try to be mindful of it, and I try to not give in to it too much. But I cannot help that those moments still happen. When we talk about traveling through Vietnam, and the idea comes up of, or the research shows that there's a lot of sleeper buses. My first thought is, well, what if I need to use the bathroom? I appreciate that there will be bus stops ever so often, but the idea of like, what if we just use a bus stop? And now I felt like maybe I wasn't able to, completely evacuate my bowels, um, or maybe I didn't need to go then. There's the feeling like, what if we leave and then 5 minutes later I realize, well, now I need to go. And it's this is quite tough because I realize that in many many moments, this is the first thought that my mind arrives at. I see a scenario, a situation, an opportunity, and I could easily see the challenge of finding a bathroom or needing a bathroom in this moment. But I do feel like I have built up my repertoire of tools and tips and tricks that I can work with, and I feel a lot more suited to face these challenges and to make these travels. And this trip to Bali has reminded me of that. When I first got here, it was actually it's very beautiful because I arrived in Ubud, and the first accommodation was right over there. And it was in the middle of the jungle here in Ubud. The path to the venue is quite narrow, and on the last day when I returned my scooter, I actually got hit by a tree trunk and I fell into the rice field next to me. Uh, but it set such a beautiful tone to the beginning of this journey, and I remember how nervous I felt, how anxious, and yet how excited. Traveling for the first time to Southeast Asia, to a country that I've connected so much with the toilet anxiety and beginning to face with it. It was a very difficult journey because my mind, my body was constantly on edge. My nervous system was basically constantly heightened. But I did it anyway and it felt great. And now the last accommodation before leaving turned out to be just around the corner from where I stayed back then. So I get to walk the same paths and drive my scooter down the same paths, and this time without any accidents. And it's so incredibly rewarding and beautiful coming back to these places and just seeing who you've become and how much you've changed. And I think a major lesson that I'm learning throughout this trip now, and it's only been 10 days this time in Bali, but I'm really learning about focusing inwards. I think a big lesson that I'm learning is the power of your own heart, the ability to listen to your heart, to listen what you want, and to follow it. And in many other moments, to listen to it. I sometimes feel like I'm asking the world around me to show me the way. You know, people talk about the universe. The universe needs to give you a nudge. And, you know, I don't know what you believe in terms of your religion or your spirituality or whatever it is, but I can't help but feel like the moment you talk about the universe, it somewhat gives accountability and responsibility to the outside. And when reading certain books, and I think it was in A New Earth, it says that the universe is inside of you. When you realize that you shouldn't direct the question outwards, like in what is my purpose? Or what should I do? Or how can I find abundance and financial stability for me and my family without falling into to previous habits and routines that didn't serve me? But you realize you just need to direct those questions inward. And that's the journey that I want to go on now, directing those questions to me, to the universe inside of me, asking my heart what to do and where to go. And I think that this will be the answer. I don't know yet where this journey can lead me, but I know that this trip is a significant part of it. I know that these videos are a significant part of it. It's the energy that I create, it's the focus that I put on things, and the emphasis that I put on the things that I love that will keep me going. I think I realize that it's the strength and the determination and the discipline and the love towards the things that serve us that will ultimately create the purpose. Taking those moments here in nature to reflect and meditate and just be present have been a lifetime worth of impressions. In 10 days, I could think and remember so many beautiful, touching, and meaningful moments that I can't help but be incredibly grateful. It also sometimes shows me that it's not only about the focus that you're setting, but sometimes it's also about where you find yourself. I can definitely tell that in a place like Malta, which I've been calling home for 10 years, you have a very different culture. And even the ability to speak very openly about problems with mental health or concerns about your purpose in life feels quite challenging. Having had a job for several years that pays financially very well, but never felt like it really fulfilled my purpose, sometimes seems challenging because people would look at my position and see like, well, but you're so fortunate to have this job, to have this income, to have this stability, to have all of this. And sometimes it got me thinking if I'm maybe doing a mistake by stopping these things and quitting. Whereas here in Bali, you feel like the place is full of places that offer workshops and meditations, and especially here in Ubud, a good friend of mine has showed me a place called the School of Unified Healing, where several practitioners and teachers are often offering classes for free. And to me, it was absolutely amazing to see this concept. And even though I was wondering why is that, uh, it makes so much sense, doesn't it? To to give teachers the space to show themselves, while also inviting people that really want to heal, that really want to grow, to create a space of so much drive and so much intention. The restaurant that is within the school is also a beautiful place and makes delicious food and vegetarian burritos. And supporting the school through donations or by supporting them by eating at the restaurant can be a good way to making sure that the school keeps on going. And a place like this, and meeting people in these places that are also working on themselves and that are also struggling and that are also looking at challenges in their life, is what is truly inspiring. There is something powerful about knowing that you're not alone in this. We sometimes forget that the sheer complexity that our life is to us and how it makes us feel is pretty much the same for all of us. We all go through life with our challenges, with ups and downs, with fears, with hopes. And surrounding yourself by like minded people is a beautiful place to bring you back to that moment. And there is truth to the idea of making a journey easier by doing it together. So, with that in mind, maybe it's equally important to find a space that allows that growth. If you don't find this in a place like Malta that I've been calling home, maybe it's time to change that place. Maybe growth can be further supported by putting myself in an environment where I can properly thrive. Clearly, this trip has brought up a lot of food for thought for me. And as I said, it's definitely going to be a big part of my journey. And I cannot wait to soak in the beauty of Bali for the last couple of hours and to see where the next journey takes me. And I'm very excited to be sharing this here with you. And I'm looking forward to welcoming you back at Grow with the Flow.